Today is the beginning of Holy Week. It's the very beginning, and we start in quite a way. We start out with the waving of the palm fronds and going around the yard out in public for anybody who was around to hear us. Now, this being a busy weekend, there wasn't a lot of people to hear us today. A busy weekend that has kept people away. And will probably keep people away tomorrow, but that doesn't change the fact that this is the beginning. Palm Sunday, in the Sunday of the Passion. You combine the very beginning of Mark's account of Jesus going into Jerusalem all the way to the very end of his time in Jerusalem, all in one night. Jesus enters into Jerusalem. And the thing about the way that Mark is laid out, in the other books, in the other Gospels, Jesus enters Jerusalem a long time before this. But it's because Mark's written just a little bit different. Normally you think that a story is going to be written chronologically. And sometimes you have some logic that tells you the order that things are going to go in. You know, there's been movies and TV shows that instead of going from the beginning, going to the end, they start at the end, and then they explain how they got there. This wasn't even written that way. This was written geographically. It wasn't chronologically. It wasn't a literature device. It wasn't a device in that way. The device was to do it geographically. We had already looked at the beginning of his ministry in Galilee, in Nazareth, and in Galilee, and now he's leaving Galilee and headed into Jerusalem. And we know that this is the time he's going to start to face a little bit of conflict. That people are going to start to be against him more and more. But we start out here in the book of Mark, in chapter 11, this triumphal entry. He's coming in on a donkey. That is how he begins going in to Jerusalem. This is Act 3, and this is a grand entrance. He sends his disciples to go get the donkey for him, an unridden colt for him. From the bulletin, from the questions, it's not because he didn't have a car or a horse, and the donkey was not a war horse. This is the anticipation. For those who knew their Old Testament, this is the anticipation of the king riding in on the donkey. It is that anticipation. It is that anticipation as well of peace, of hope that was going to come to them. Many people were waiting for this warrior king to come and to overtake all of Rome. But Jesus comes in a different way. He comes in to wage battle in a different way, on a different level. He trumps everything else, coming in on the donkey. Every other place you see, Jesus is either walking or in a boat. And so as he goes along, as he's in this procession of peace and of hope for the people, all these people that are round about him are people that are headed to Jerusalem for the Passover. Maybe thousands upon thousands of people headed to Jerusalem, lining the roads, walking. And so this probably wasn't like it was for us, a 5-minute affair. This was all day. Riding his donkey, passing all these travelers. He didn't stop at just a few people saying, Hosanna! Thousands of people could have been saying, Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. this procession into Jerusalem. These people who knew who he was. These people who were going along with him. Hosanna. See, one thing that happens in the Scriptures, in the Gospels, is that Jesus does not come out and say, I am the Son of God. He says elsewhere, I do not testify for myself. Someone else testifies for me. The Father testifies for me. And in this case, it's the people recognizing him. This is the one that we hoped for. They couldn't have known that just a few days, in that third year, a few days after that third year, what was going to happen. That at the end of this Passover feast, that he had just come in proclaiming him as king, that as we just got done reading in the Passion, that he would be denied, he would be flogged, he would be scourged, he would be hung on the cross, and he would die. Jesus is declared as the King. He is the hope not just for them, but for us as well. But we begin this week. We begin this week of Holy Week not saying the end yet. We have a week that we are to live into this passion. Live into the suffering. Many people may want to skip today because they don't want to feel the pain. Many people may want to skip Thursday and Friday because they don't want to feel the pain. But come on Saturday for the joy. Come on Sunday for the joy, for the hope. We have that hope even in the deepest adversity. As a matter of fact, that's when we need it the most. When we ourselves are suffering, we can remember that Jesus Christ sympathized with us in every way. He didn't skip over death. He didn't skip over suffering. He sympathizes with us in every way. And so this week, the stage is set. We'll head into this week ready to celebrate the Seder, just like Jesus did with his disciples. The foot washing, just like Jesus did for the disciples. Then we're remembering once again passion and then the hope. We have a week to live into it. Let us go and live into the suffering so that we can come back and live into the joy